Steve, do you think that Don Staley would leave women's college basketball to coach in the NBA?
Oh, I hope so. Oh, I want to see this happen. And it got me thinking. You know how they say life imitates art and art imitates life? Remember that movie with Eddie, named Eddie, with who was it? Whoopi Goldberg? She became the coach of the Knicks. You don't remember that in the early to mid 90s?
Vaguely, yeah.
Yeah, but trust me, it was pretty forgettable. Not exactly Gone with the Wind or Casablanca. But I want to see this. I want to see this because this is just like their mayoral race with that Momon Zamandi or Zaman Mamandi, that guy, that socialist that wants to ruin everything.
Mondani.
Yeah, the guy that wants to tax all the poor white people or the rich people. I want to see it.
Yeah.
You want to do a social experiment and you want to live in this utopian mindset? Go ahead, please. And I do believe that Don Staley, we're going to find out how much she can coach, because a lot of these great coaches, even when they're men, right? Calipari found this out. Rick Pitino found this out specifically in his run in Boston. It is easy to be a great coach when you have a very, very large talent disparity in your favor 95% of the time. The NBA is a little bit different. So yes, I'd like to see it.
I think I would like to see it. I don't think it'll happen. I think she's got more self-awareness. She's getting paid $3, $4, $5 million a year. It's not that hard. South Carolina is a dynasty. There's only about 10 good women's college basketball programs. You know, the schedule's pretty easy when you have as much talent as she does. But I do think we're going to see a woman head coach in the NBA sooner than later. I would think in the next 3 years. I don't think it's a smart thing. I don't think it will work, but I do think we're headed for it. I looked at watching the NBA Finals and the playoffs. It's like the Indiana Pacers got some blonde assistant coach that, was front and center, standing up damn near as much as Rick Carlisle. Obviously, you had Becky Hammon with Popovich in the Spurs. Now she's in the WNBA. Paul, you might know better than any of us. And could a woman head coach work in the NBA?
My first instinct was this is a publicity stunt and absurd. But as I was sitting here thinking about it,
She's got a book that's coming out right now.
Oh, does she?
Yeah. So I could see her group planting this.
Yeah, I know how that goes, having written a couple of books and needing to do the circuit from time to time. I would say this, interestingly, the job of managing a game in the NBA is so much about just listening to what's going on, paying attention. It turns out that generally women are better at multitasking than men. None of us are good at multitasking. It's really just switching tasks quickly, and none of us can really do that well. But women, probably because they're evolved to be more nurturing and pay attention to what's going on at all times in case there are threats, tend to be better at that job of multitasking. So I wonder, actually, if it might work out, because the job of an NBA coach is so much more about just being aware of all of these nuances, managing egos and people, and sometimes we men struggle with oversized egos. We want to put our own ego as a stamp on the game and aren't as able to sit back and pay attention to what's happening. Does that make any sense?
It does. I'm going to tell you why I disagree, though. There's all kinds of stats about if men were teachers and men as teachers and how much better children, male or female, perform in schools where there's a heavy male presence. We've basically turned the education system over to women, and we keep saying, hey, we keep going backwards. Mm-hmm. There's something about male authority, a male voice, that has nothing to do with sexism. It just has to do with how we're wired.
Totally agree. So I run this co-working space in Denver, and I joke often that my job is like being principal, girls volleyball coach, and counselor, right? A lot of my job, because we run these structured sessions, a lot of my job is to be the bad guy. It's to be the dad, right? So you're totally right that in, especially I think elementary school, where the most important thing is setting up structure and accountability for kids, that we need more male aura, I would say. What I see, though, in basketball is you've got guys who have gotten to this high level. They actually don't need so much discipline anymore in a lot of cases. They actually need, what we've seen is that it becomes much more about managing personalities.
Babysitting.
In the NBA. Yeah, it is babysitting, and that's frustrating. I think the NFL is a little bit different because you've got so many guys, and NFL players are kind of a little more militaristic in that it's a much more disciplined game. Basketball is so conceptual and abstract that you end up with weirdos like me and other people who are a bit strange playing basketball. It becomes a little bit more like jazz in a way. You get eccentric people, and I think in that regard, it may actually work pretty well to have something a little more feminine as energy around these hyper masculine or hyper odd people who maybe don't need as much structure because the game itself provides the structure. Does this make sense at all?
It does. I hear it's a good hypothesis. It's not. But Steve, is Paul making any sense to you?
Yeah, I get it, but did you see some of those player profiles of the NBA draft last week? Hyper masculine is not the word that I would use. I'll just leave it at that. I'm just going to tell you one thing right now. My only regret is that if Miss Staley, you can make an argument right now. Miss Staley may have coached more masculinity at South Carolina than what was coming into the NBA this past year. Okay. The other thing is, my only regret.
That's pretty. I got to grant you, that's pretty good.
I get lucky once in a while. So the only regret that I would have if Miss Staley becomes the coach of the New York Knickerbockers, oh, Red Holzman must love this, right? Is that it wouldn't be a team with Larry Johnson, Anthony Mason, Charles Oakley, and John Starks. Oh, that would be fun, guys. That would be fun.
It'll be a bunch of guys she can go get her nails done with, and she can take to, you got a lot of guys painting their fingernails and wearing their hair in buns and all that, and she can braid some hair during halftime,
So a question for both of you around this, because you're right, the NBA, as you were listing those names, I was feeling a bit nostalgic because there was a personality to the New York Knicks back then.
Yeah.
It seems to me, as a guy who has not watched a basketball game on purpose in like 5 years, that the NBA is broken largely because of the three-point line, because it has gotten much more oblique. Every team kind of plays the same. But I wonder from you guys, because I don't know this answer, is the NBA in trouble because of this, of the very thing that you're talking about, the lack of identity that teams have, the fact that teams are kind of all the same? What's going to happen? You predicted that we'd have a women's coach in 3 years. What happens to the NBA in the next 3 years?
The NBA, the WNBA, none of these leagues, to me, are about success. They're about message. They're about agenda. The NBA is so international and is so on the hunt for the next big streaming service to throw more money at them. They don't really care about the product anymore. They just want, for the NBA, they just want as much international, global reach as possible. And so, hey, if adding a woman means that some woman in India or some woman elsewhere is more likely to say, hey, I need a Netflix because Don Staley's coaching the New York Knicks, that's all they care about. And so I don't think any of these leagues are about quality of play. They're just about, hey, how many people can we throw into our melting pot so we can get as many foreign destinations as possible?